Hey, knitting mamas. Welcome back to another episode of the Knitting Mamas podcast. Super excited about today's episode. It's going to be short and sweet for you, my fellow busy mamas who are never feeling like they're having a moment to relax or rest or knit or do something else that they enjoy doing. And for me, the essential meaning of self-care is, yes, meditation is great, but if you're not loving it, then it probably isn't helpful for you. So the essential thing about self-care, in my opinion, is to find something that you love doing and do more of that, because that truly will recharge you and make you feel better and be great for your mental health, well-being, all that stuff. So if you are one of the moms who are struggling to find time to indulge in their knitting craft, there are 3 things that I highly recommend for you to do, and we're diving into them in this episode. I hope you enjoy. Hey there, mama. Welcome to the Knitting Mamas podcast. If you're a mom who's tired of feeling exhausted and longing for some well-deserved self-care and rest, you are in the right place. I know that finding time for yourself as a busy mom can feel like an impossible puzzle. But guess what? You don't have to compromise anymore. Hi, I'm your host, Nadine Medina, and just like you, I am a mom, wife, and also a happy knitter. Over my 15 years of motherhood, I have been on a journey to discover how to truly recharge without the guilt and the never-ending quest for perfection. The secret? It's all about progress, not perfection. By focusing on simple routines, natural wellness solutions, and the cozy art of knitting, I found the path to feeling whole and content. And on this podcast, I'm sharing it all with you so you can do the same. Are you ready to find simple solutions to set yourself free from mom guilt, to take more time for yourself to truly rest, and to use your knitting skills for a mindful routine that creates space in your life so you can breathe easier? Let's take a deep breath, grab those knitting needles, and say goodbye to mom stress. Together, we'll create a supportive community that encourages you to prioritize self-care while juggling all your responsibilities. Sound good? Let's do this. So welcome back to the podcast. It's a new week, and I hope you guys are enjoying the middle of summer right now. We are barely starting our summer over here, meaning our school year has just concluded, and I'm just excited to weave in a little bit more knitting time even than I already do. But today I want to share with you 3 tips that I think are the most crucial when it comes to creating more time for yourself and for your creative hobby, whatever that may be for you. And the first 2 tips are pretty practical and tactical, meaning you can write them down, or you probably don't even have to, because they're pretty straightforward and you can implement them right away. However, the third one might be a bit more challenging, but it also is a foundational step. So don't skip it, even though it might require a little bit more effort. But it also requires a mindset shift, and I'm here to help you. So don't worry. Let's stick together and make this happen, because I think it is super important in order for you to implement the other tips and in order for you to truly make that time that you deserve for the thing that lights you up, for the thing that you enjoy, or for the things. For me, it's multiple things. You know me, I love knitting, but I also love a really good book. Sometimes I honestly wish I could do both. And I know I had the discussions about audiobooks. It's just not something I enjoy. I don't like audiobooks. I like self-help audiobooks because I can do those when I take walks and when I, just go on a run or sit in my car. But for some reason, a novel does not land when I listen to it. So I have to actually read it in a book. And that is my way of relaxing. So I always have to pick between knitting and reading. I really envy those people who can do both. So there's that. But let's dive into tip number 1. You've heard me say this, and I will say it again because it is such a game changer. Put your phone into another room to charge. Why am I saying that? Like in another room to charge when you're going to sleep. Why is that important? How is that saving you time? How is that making time for your hobby? Where's the connection? Well, when you take your phone into your bedroom at night, you tend to look at it, you tend to scroll on it, you tend to look things up on Amazon, you might check your email, you might check your messenger, you might do things that keep you from getting a good night's sleep. And what also happens the next day in the morning, it is likely the first thing that you grab, unless you have a lot of self-control, which I'm not meaning that in a bad way, because most of us actually don't have that when it comes to our phones. So we have to physically put barriers and limits on our phone. And this is one way of doing that. But you might be one of the few people who are like, nope, I have my phone in my room, but I don't look at it until, at least a half an hour or an hour after I wake up. I'm not that person. My phone, if it lays around, I will look at it. It's a habit. It's not a great habit, but it is what it is. And for me, in order for me to enjoy my mornings in a very intentional way and to be able to do the things that I say I want to do, for example, work on my knitting project, do a meditation, go on a walk, do a yoga practice, or lift some weights, I have to control myself around my phone, meaning my phone is just not even going to be anywhere near me. And it gives me so much more time for the things that I really enjoy doing. I love looking at Instagram for many reasons, but I know that it's a time suck. I also enjoy talking to people on messages. It's also a great thing, but our phones can be an addiction. And in order for us to kind of control that a little bit more and not wonder where the heck did all my time go today, realizing, oh, I guess I just kept grabbing my phone and kept scrolling mindlessly, to avoid that and use that time that you would lose with the mindless scroll and instead invest that into a hobby that actually is going to recharge you, that doesn't pull you into the comparison trap like Instagram would do or Facebook or whatever you do. I know, I'm old. I used to like Facebook. In order for that to happen, you have to put restrictions, limits on your phone. And step one, in order to do that, is to put it into another room to charge it. The next tip I have for you, it's still your phone. It's still your phone, mamas. It's the worst. Stop mindlessly scrolling on social media. Ties right into the first one, but how can you avoid it other than during the evening before you go to bed and in the morning when you're trying to do a very intentional morning routine and possibly get some knitting time in? I find myself grabbing my phone all day long to look on social media. So what's the solution here? How do we stop mindlessly scrolling on social media? The first step that I would implement is putting a time limit on your social media apps, whichever ones you have on your phone. I have 15 minutes on mine, and then I have to actually go in and put in more if I want more time on there, which I do need sometimes because I'm also working with social media. But I really try to honor these limits that I'm putting on my social media apps because there's a reason why I put them there. Doesn't always work, but it's definitely a step that helps. If you find yourself being sucked into social media mindlessly more time than you want to, and you find yourself literally taking that time away from things that you would love to do, go a step further. Take the apps off your phone. Take the apps off your phone. Like, if social media really is that big of a problem for you, which I know it is for a lot of people, and I slip into that sometimes as well, where I have to just say, this app is going and it's going to be off for like 2 or 3 days so that I can get back into the habit of doing other things. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's definitely a good tip to keep in your back pocket. It is possible to delete an app and to put it right back on your phone when you're ready for it. Nothing will be lost unless you have a couple of reels drafted in your Instagram app, which I'm not sure if everybody does that, but I can tell you from experience, if you do delete the app, they will get lost. But that's about everything that you lose. Everything else, you just log in and it's all right there for you to enjoy when you're back and when you feel like you can control your urges around the social media a little bit better. But I am not kidding when I'm saying that that is one of my favorite tips to save time or to make time for other things. We just don't realize how much of a time sucks social media can be for us and how much time it takes away from the things that we actually enjoy doing. So let's stop the mindless scrolling. Tip number 3, here it comes. This is the one that might be a little bit harder to do because it requires a mindset shift. Make your downtime a non-negotiable, just like you would any other appointment. If you have an appointment at the doctor, you wouldn't just be like, oh, I scrolled on social media and I forgot my appointment. Or you wouldn't just say, I'm going to be 20 minutes late because I'm just not feeling it, or I just don't want to go. You will show up on time and you will take it seriously. Why don't we do that with our downtime, with our knitting time, with our self-care time? Why is that always negotiable in the basically to benefit other things in our lives? That will require a mindset change on your end. And many of us do struggle with this mindset or narrative of, I haven't done enough to deserve this rest, or there's too much to do and I just can't rest yet. It's a classic I'm not enough narrative and story that might be deeply rooted. And I think in one way or another, we all struggle with that. It's just now a matter of overcoming it and truly believing that it is something that we need to change and that we can change. And we deserve the rest, we deserve the time, and we also do it without having put in a bunch of stuff to deserve it, right? We don't have to earn it. It's already there. You already earned it by just being here. So make sure that you change that narrative. I'm going to dive just a little bit deeper into that last part so that I can give you a couple of tools that you can use in order to really solidify that belief that you are enough, that you can do these things for yourself without feeling guilty, by the way. But before we dive deeper, if you haven't already, I would love to invite you to download my free guide called Creative Time, where I teach you how to free up multiple hours per week to use for your knitting craft. You'll discover 6 ways to reclaim up to 6 hours per week. It depends, of course, how many hours that will ultimately be for you, but I'm so excited to get that into your hands. It comes with the free video for you to watch as well, where we dive deep into the mindset piece, and that is definitely going to help you carve out more time for your hobby. So be sure to download this guide. I'm going to give you the link as well, if I can find it, because I'm not prepared. The free workbook can be downloaded at theknittingmamas.com/free workbook. I'm going to put the link in the show notes as well if you didn't catch it this time. But let's dive in just a little bit more to some things that I highly suggest for shifting your mindset, as we just talked about. Okay, so the first tip I want to give you to constantly be in that new mindset of yours is a morning mantra. I know it might sound a little funny, but it's really simple. When you wake up, repeat the words, I am enough, or I deserve rest, or I deserve time for myself, or write it down in a journal maybe, but just have it ready when you wake up. And instead of going into a negative story, just tell yourself a few times in a row, I deserve rest. I deserve time for myself. I deserve taking time to knit without feeling guilty because something else is not getting done. Whatever your story is, turn it around and turn it into your mantra. The second thing is a meditation. I highly recommend meditations because they will just intentionally put you in a good mindset. And if you do them over and over again, they truly can change the narrative that is swirling around in your brain. So find a meditation that is either focusing on rest or maybe thoughts of enoughness or inner child meditations, all those things where you can kind of focus positivity on this self-care and resting thing that you do not believe is meant for you because you just don't deserve it. So let's change the narrative through meditation. It's highly recommended. It works really well. And the third thing I suggest would be journaling. You can write down the affirmations or the mantras from the first part, even if you don't quite believe them, but it helps to solidify them as you write them and you read them. So it's not just the, remembering it in your brain and in your mind, but it also helps to just write them over and over because, as you know, you probably tell your kids the same thing. If you take notes, you retain things more easily. It's the same concept. But it also helps to journal out just your thoughts and maybe go a little bit deeper and wonder, why am I saying this to myself? Where is this coming from? Why do I not believe that I deserve rest and time for myself? Why do I feel guilty when I sit down and I knit because something else isn't completed yet? Where's this coming from? So just kind of like journal out your thoughts. And I think that really all those 3 things together can truly help you intentionally focus your mindset on this new shift, on this new narrative that, yes, we are busy. There's lots to do. We do need to do these things because they're our responsibility as moms, as wives, as people who own a house, maybe, or, live. And some things just need to happen. But just because of that, it doesn't mean that we don't deserve time outside of that where we can rest, or in the middle of that. We do not have to wait till the end of the day when everything is completed. We can take the time in the middle of the day. As a matter of fact, after I'm done recording this podcast, I'm going to have some lunch and then I'm going to indulge for 15 minutes in my novel. It is a recharge that we need during the day. So please, please don't think you are not deserving of it. You can make this change happen for yourself as well. And I know this because I used to think all those thoughts. Sometimes I still go back to them, but having these tools in your back pocket and knowing when to apply them and when to use them can truly make a huge difference in how you're going to feel overall. So I want you to remember that self-care is not selfish. It is always essential, and your self-care is so important because it makes you better for the people around you. And knitting is such a beautiful form of self-care. And I'm just so happy that you're around here on this podcast, listening to this every week. And I truly hope that you are getting some shifts, some mindset shifts out of this, and that you have learned something in this podcast episode that you are also happy to pass on to your fellow mamas who may not be in that place yet and who need a little bit of a nudge as well. I will see you back here on the podcast next week. Don't forget to download your free workbook if you haven't yet, the knittingmamas.com/free workbook. See you next week. Take care. Hey mama, I hope you've soaked up some great ideas from today's episode. Remember, a happy mom makes for a happy fam. If today's chat hit home with you, it would mean the world if you could leave a 5-star written review on iTunes. Your review will help other moms discover our community and embrace guilt-free self-care. Also, if you're scrolling through Instagram, why not snap a screenshot of this episode for your stories? Don't forget to tag me at The Knitting Mamas so that I can shout you out on my page as well. Plus, that way we can stay connected and spread the self-care magic. Oh, and have you heard about our cozy Facebook community? It's a guilt-free zone where we share relaxing routines, essential oils, and knitting adventures, and so much more. Come join us today at bit.ly/knittingmamas and let's unwind together. Until we chat again, take care, mama. And remember, looking after yourself is not selfish. It's essential for that balanced life. Catch you soon right here on the Knitting Mamas podcast.